Hello everyone, my name is Fiona and today we're gathered here in Ljubljana, Slovenia, for the We Make Democracy project. This is the second site visit and we are very happy to be in such a beautiful city, sharing experiences with people from the region and beyond. Today, we have invited a very engaged person in the civil society of Slovenia. His name is Damjan Vinko. He's the president of, sorry if I'm not spelling it as correctly, Fundacija študentski tolar, which translated in English, it's Student Tolar Foundation, right?
Yeah. Pronunciation was also very fine.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you here, and we value your experience as really good for young people to have as a role model and follow maybe your steps. I actually wanted to ask you to make us a short introduction of yourself, maybe your profile, and how activism or engagement in this field started for you.
Yeah, so by studies, I'm a biologist, and for all my life, more or less, I was somehow connected with nature. So it was quite easy for me already in the early beginnings to decide in which high school I will go, in which university I will go, and so on. And biology is still a huge part of my life, even though at the moment I'm not employed as a biologist. But I'm doing quite a lot of, let's say, civic activities on this kind of topic and looking from the shoulder of the government what it's doing and the national agencies and so on. And at the same time also quite active in different NGOs on the topic of nature conservation. But today we are here more about my actual profession or work. So already in the high school and also later on I was quite active in some student councils, unions and so on. And more or less by accident I became active also in student organization at University of Ljubljana and stayed there for different positions for quite some time. And after a short break, I was invited to take part as a job there in administration. And soon after that, I became president of the Študentski tolar, so the humanitarian organization from student organization of University of Ljubljana, where we're mostly dealing with helping students in need. It means that we're assigning them non-refundable financial funds or giving them subsidized language courses, professional courses, or different material help that they need. And somehow to help the students to gain the same equality and same opportunities during their university life, and of course also for the future career of their own. And during that time, I also established quite a lot of Erasmus Plus programs that we wanted to or learn by ourselves doing or helping some societies, some communities, or at the same time giving our students, so our target group, with fewer opportunities to give some extra possibilities to learn, to meet other people, to gain some intercultural awarenesses and so on.
That's a really interesting path you have chosen to take. But I really wanted to, and I was interested while I was listening, what was your motivation for joining this organization? And maybe what do all this initiative mean for you personally?
Well, as I said, it was more or less by chance that I joined the organization. So before that, I was involved in the office for NGOs, for student NGOs actually. So I was more or less helping students who are involved in the NGOs to develop or finance their projects. And at the same time, in Student Tolar Foundation, there have been some change with the staff. And I was invited if perhaps I would like to continue my work from that office in the social work, because the previous president saw me as a really good candidate, and that from the knowledge and references that I had from before, that I could easily adapt. At the beginning, I was really scared, because for me this was like really completely new world, so I really didn't have any experience in social work or something like that. But I was, let's say, good in administration and good with listening to other people. And these were the two characteristics that actually really helped me at the beginning. And of course, also the staff that was there really taught me quite a lot. And very soon I saw that actually you can make a difference even if you're only one person or one organization. And this gave me a huge motivation for continuing this work and for raising our programs even higher or reaching to some students that from before didn't know of us and so on.
That's a very interesting answer. I wanted to maybe ask you a question because a lot of people that don't participate in this kind of field, they don't work in the field, they kind of don't have an idea on what the routine looks like. So my question to you, what is your routine like? Or is it just like any other organization? Someday you're like signing papers and writing projects, and on the other day you're like having super fun projects on site.
You mean my personal or for the organization?
Your personal.
My personal. So first I have to say I have a really, really good staff. So for now, let's say I'm more in charge in the paperwork and assigning what kind of open calls we'll do, what kind of programs we will adapt for student needs. And so it's more, let's say, a bureaucracy work. And the actual, let's say, helping students, listening to them, reading their letters, it's done by our staff. So my daily routine in that sort is that to read the papers that my colleagues prepare. And I have to check if they oblige all the rules, if everything is okay, if the papers are okay, and so on. Of course, later on, sign them and so on. And if the application is approved, then also I'm accountant that sends the financial help to the students and so on. So this is a part for our main projects the main program that we're doing. And if we're looking for Erasmus activities that we have, in this sense, I am more or less active in designing the projects, making the partnerships, contacting about the accommodation, food, and so on. Then preparing the participants, and most of all, then to make the project in life. So to actually make the workshops, listen to the participants' ideas, wishes, and so on.
You said that the work of your organization includes cooperating with a lot of people and also other similar organizations. But I wanted to ask you on a local or national level, who are your main partners and what role does the government play in your work?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the national level, our main partners are actually organizations which are connected with our founder. So it's the organization of University of Ljubljana. For instance, when we have the subsidized language courses, we are cooperating with our NGO, which is doing language courses and so on. Apart of that, we are also a lot of times in the contact with other student organizations or other youth organizations. Perhaps sometimes they just ask us for advice that they would also like to help somehow students, but they don't have the knowledge how to make an open call or something like that. And considering Erasmus projects, we are more or less connected only with one organization outside of show, which is somehow making, let's say, similar topics, but on a different way. So we are somehow in connection to helping each other and adapting practices of one or the other. So let's say it's more or less unofficial cooperation, which is somehow also building friendship and future ideas and so on. As for the government, officially we are more or less not connected. Or let's say we are the same connected as all other NGOs, so with the official reports and so on. And the only thing is we as a humanitarian organization, we also have to report to the ministry that has to, let's say, check our reports and so on.
Okay. Before I ask you about the success of your work, I actually wanted to ask you about the biggest obstacles that you have seen in your everyday job, on a personal or even in an organizational level. Which are they and how can they be surpassed?
I would say that if we would look at the community, the main obstacle is actually that a lot of people don't realize that everyone can make a change. Now it just depends like what kind of change this will be or how big this change will be. But I really believe that everyone can make a difference. And this is, I think, some belief, some kind of obstacle that a lot of people believe that, oh, this is bad or something has to be changed and so on. And they don't have this, let's say, inner energy or inner belief that they can also be that change. If we look at the point from our organization, what are the obstacles is, I would say, more or less the same as with all the rest. Of course, if we would have more financial help, we will also be able to give more financial help to the students. So this is, let's say, the conflict that is always around. We can give only that kind of help that we receive from our founder. And sometimes it's quite hard to read some stories of students that you know that they would really need their help or your help would really benefit them or to solve their own issues, but we just don't have the finances to do that. So this is sometimes the most frustrating part of our work or my work is that to know that you could do it, but you cannot do it.
I understand. Considering what you just said, you mentioned before that Erasmus Plus is a really big part of your work. And I wanted to ask you about the impact it is making on the marginalized groups, young people coming from these groups, and how it is empowering them to make a change in their community and change their perspective.
Yeah, I didn't kid myself that our projects will now change the world and community and so on. So the same philosophy that we have at the Student Poet Foundation, we had it also in the Erasmus Plus project, that we would like to make a difference in each of the participants or each of the students that get involved in our project. So this is our main focus, to raise awareness mostly in those participants so that they could continue their work or share these ideas and share the gain skills with their friends, with their family, and perhaps sometimes, especially in some projects that we have, also to teach them how to make this kind of project on their own. So I think that this is the main impact that we're doing, that we are empowering others to empower others.
This is a really great answer, actually. And taking in mind all your 15 years of experience in this field, what do you consider to be the greatest success of your organization? And in terms of non-formal education?
I think that the main success is that actually we empowered some people, some youth, to actually make the changes. As I said in the talk, I'm really proud on the projects that we had, mostly in the Eastern Europe, that I saw that the young people who were lacking the opportunities or experience on different topics, after our project started their own organization or their own youth work or their own projects. And so the idea that we had at the beginning is still alive and it's a continuing process. So I would say that this is, let's say, the main thing that I'm proud of doing our Erasmus projects.
Thank you. And maybe this is the last question, but actually it is more of a concrete one because a lot of people working with different projects, they do these great initiatives for as long as the projects are funded. But when the end comes, they have a difficulty on containing, let's say, the sustainability of the project and how it is going to keep producing mark, let's say, in the community. What would be your advice for them to focus in order to be successful even after the project is no longer funded?
Yeah, it's quite a hard question because it goes, let's say, from example to example. Sometimes you have some idea which cannot be continued later on. And in many cases, like for instance, as we have with this raising awareness on the topics of equality, democracy, anti-discrimination, and so on, is for sure an ongoing process. So many times we already design our projects in a way that we teach participants how to also apply for the future projects, that this idea would be ongoing. So this is, for instance, the most common cases that we have. Sometimes is also to give them skills and knowledge how to also, for instance, do the social entrepreneurship and to make on this kind of way their ideas to be alive also in the future and so on. Also, or to give them knowledge how to receive finances or sponsorship, donation, how to apply for open calls on different levels and so on. And at the same time, of course, it really helps if you are working in a big organization which is also having some other funds, that you can also include your own ideas in already developed projects, for instance, or the developed programs, for instance, like in our case, because we don't mix too much. So these, let's say, humanitarian programs that we have and the Erasmus project per se, only with the target group, let's say, is the same. So it's in one way, until we will, until the finances that we will receive from our founder will come, we will also be able to develop with those students the future ideas, and also because we don't want to make only projects on our own. Many times we want to build the projects with our students, or with sometimes even with students from abroad, and to make a joint projects and joint ideas.
Well, thank you, Damjan. It was really a great conversation, and I believe that it was really useful to me as a listener interviewer, but also to the people who will and have listened to the podcast. Thank you for being here today, and I also want to thank our listeners. And I wish you have a good day, and I also invite you to hear our other podcasts made for the We Make Democracy program. Thank you.
Thanks.
So,
Cool.